Hello everyone, I'm Poke for Life. Welcome to my first ever tutorial, which is going to help you get your first vet Maelstrom arena clear, or help you better understand the mechanics and improve your score. This was my first time attempting vMA on anything other than my mags work. I'm going to be showing you a lot of my deaths so that you can see what not to do, as well as what you should be doing. You can play the video as you're playing the game so that we can clear the levels together, or you can check out the description for timestamps and move to the section that will help you the most. Please ignore my skills, I will link better skills in the description. I realized partway through that my skill selection was very inefficient. As for gear, I'm rocking Medusa, weapons and jewelry, the Mother Sorrow on my body, which you get from Deshawn or from guild traders, and then the Iceheart monster set from Direfrost Keep. If you find anything helpful, please like the video and subscribe to my channel to help me out. So first up we have stage 1, which is Vale of the Surreal. It's really important to buff up between rounds for this entire arena. Get your damage over times, also known as your dots, down as early as possible, and to watch your resources. So this first stage is essentially just turn and burn every single item, ad that pops up, and then you're going to have a Daedrith to kill here at the end. It's extremely simple and straightforward for this first portion. You'll notice I got caught and didn't block there. And then there's these little scamps that you have to kill. Nothing too serious here. And then in between the first round and the second, you want to start putting your dots down and reapply your buffs. You'll notice that I'm not the best at applying the buffs with the MagDK, which is why I said that I should be switching the skills. There is a clanfare right here that's standing in the swirling AoE of death. That swirling AoE of death is probably the biggest pain in the butt for this entire round, aside from the clanfares. You don't want to stand in it too long because then you start getting crowd controlled and it just kills you, and there's no reason to stand in it. You'll notice there I did not just drop my AoEs on the circle, or the dots on my circle like I should have. So right here I should be putting down my wall of elements as well as the necrotic orb and then going to the next ad. Again, I didn't do it, and that's something that I've got to improve for the next run on my MagDK. The Flesh Atronach isn't too big of a thing. It's no different than the Daedrith. You just want to make sure you block the heavy attacks and don't stand in the swirling AoE of death. Now for this final round, you want to try to drop your ultimate now. I should have already had that dropped before the boss spawned, and it's also extremely helpful to hard target the boss. So what you do to hard target is press and hold down your stealth button, and then you see the little white outline that goes around him, and that will help you focus on him instead of hitting the ad around him. And now we are on to the second round. Alright, next up we have Seht's Balcony, which is stage 2. So this one, my biggest thing, aside from avoiding the whirly blade AoEs, is to try to maintain a home portal, which is the middle one off to the left hand side when you first enter. So when you turn left, you'll have your first one and then you'll have the second one. I personally like to stand on that one. And then you don't want to stand in the middle circle. You'll see that there's a little shockwave that's coming through. You don't want to stand in the middle there. It's an AoE, does damage and kills you. So just like the first stage, this one's extremely difficult on the resource management. In fact, this is probably the sneakiest one to kill you, because the whirly blades will get you and then you run out of your magicka or stamina, whatever you're healing with, and you'll end up dead. So from there you want to stick on this middle one where this boss pops up, and there's a lot of sentries and dwarven spiders that pop up. Just kill them from afar. You drop your dots on the middle and then try to have a ranged dot for the other sides. Personally, I would recommend Degeneration there. It's the skill that I'm gonna try next round with instead of the Necrotic Orb. So you've got the Dwarven Spheres. Again, this this one's not too bad as long as you keep your health up and your buffs up. You'll notice that I don't have my magma armor up, or hardened armor, excuse me, when I switch back to my back bar. That's my mistake. I should be getting that up pretty much this whole time. I'm fast forwarding right now because I'm going to die this round, and I'll show you where I mess up here in just a moment. So right up here, I've got enough ultimate to lay my Dawnbreaker. However, I don't use it, which that would save me. And I decided to try and save it to, I got greedy and wanted to use my standard, but I ended up dying right there because I didn't use the Dawnbreaker to keep my resources up. So that was the biggest mistake to this point because it cost me a vitality. So if you're on a MagDK, feel free to use your ultimate to get your resources back. That way you don't have to deal with, dying and then you have to restart. So what you're doing is you want to start off far away from the boss so he does this mechanic, and then I messed up and dropped my ultimate away from him, so that was 100% a waste of an ultimate. You want to try to drop it on top of the boss so that it does more damage to him as soon as he's there. You see the lever behind? You can hit that lever and it'll bring the boss into the middle, but it stops the whirly blades, and even though he's healing, those whirly blades aren't coming after you anymore. Right here I notice he goes down. I ignore the guy on the left because he's going to go back into his shell, and you'll want to go to this one. So generally you want to try to stack all three of them in the same location. Whether I usually try to stack him on the middle. However, if you are just trying to get your first clear, I would go and stack on the lever so that you can pull that lever if need be, and then you don't die to standing in the whirly blades of death or get cleaved by the boss. At this point, now that everything's together, you can just drop all of your damage over times and your AoEs and burn everything together so that you don't actually have to focus on one of them and that they can all die. So here, after you get the first one down, it's a lot easier to get the second and the third one because their little mechanic of going into a shell and hiding isn't as effective anymore. It's not so difficult to find one to kill. And this is pretty much it for the second round. There's nothing overly difficult. It's all about paying attention to your resources and not getting stuck in the whirly blades of death. Okay, so now we are going to get to stage 3, which is the Drome of Toxic Shock. So this one's a little bit different. You're still not going to stand in the AoEs, but the water on the ground is actually going to go and turn into a shock pool on occasion. So you don't want to spend a whole lot of time standing inside the water. In between rounds, you want to make sure that you're killing the stranglers, which is kind of one of the more important pieces of the puzzle, even though it's a very minuscule seeming thing, because those stranglers will go and send poison out. So this Wamasu here, also known as the Queen's Pet, you want to try to burn that as quickly as possible. It has a pretty nasty heavy attack, and it's just the Wamasu is consistently a pain in the butt if you let it heavy attack you. So now that we've made it through the first round of this stage, we're going to do the same thing of layer dots on the spawn points, and then we're going to go and focus on the ones that are a little bit further away. Again, you notice that I killed the strangler in between the round. That way I didn't have to deal with it while the other ads are up. That's a nice little way of building resources with heavy attacks, and it just lets you kind of relax a quick moment while you're getting ready. So this boss is the Queen's Champion. You have to watch that attack right there. She does an uppercut, or he. But it's really nice and easy to burn. You just have to watch that heavy attack, and again, kill the Strangler, and don't stand in the water. You'll notice that there's lightning bolts coming from the sky now. Just sidestep those and avoid the AoEs. It's quite simple. This is probably one of the easiest rounds inside of the entire arena, because you're just going through, you're killing the Stranglers, staying out of the AoEs, and leaving your dots on the spawn points. You'll notice here that there's the Lamia right here, and I did not keep my resources up. Almost got grabbed. The Queen's Advisor, which is the mini boss right here, there's times where she will glitch out and pull you into the water off on the side where it's all shocked. I've found that what you can do to counteract that is stand closer to her spawn point and block, that way she doesn't pull you in. So now that we're on the final round, we're going to go ahead and hard target the boss again, and then start laying down as many AoEs and dots as possible. You'll see right there, she screamed at me and got me caught in her crowd control. That's not a good thing to do. You should be able to just sidestep that. If I were doing this correctly, I would be standing back closer to the spawn point, and that way I wouldn't be so close to the water. At this point, I'm far enough along to where I can just move into execute, but if I wasn't burning as quickly, I would have had to kill the ads so that they didn't get overran. And now we are on to the next stage. Alright, so next up we have Seht's Flywheel, which is stage 4. I've found that the easiest way to handle this stage is to run a circle around this middle point. That way you can have an active track on where the clockwork sentries are. So the clockwork sentries look like Wall-E, if you're familiar with that movie. Essentially what they do is they'll go into the middle, this guy right here, and they'll shield up, which makes them invincible. You can't kill them while they have the shield on. And they shoot this extremely high damage output lightning bolt at you. So you'll see I left the boss to go kill him there because he is a lot more dangerous than the boss in that sense. So after the clockwork sentries, your next target is going to be the dwarven spheres. And that's this guy right here. They're kind of a bigger deal because they've also got a lightning AoE, and as well as this little arrow that they'll shoot out. They're a lot more dangerous than anything else aside from the clockwork sentries. So this entire fight is going to be rinse and repeat of killing the clockwork sentries, then you kill the dwarven spheres, and then everything else. One of the things to remember is when you hit stage 3, you don't want to use your ultimate prior to the final boss. So you'll hold your ultimate after this stage right here on stage 2, which you're fighting Arima, I believe is how you pronounce it. So after him, you don't want to use your ultimate again until the final round. That way you can have an easier time with the final boss. So now we're coming up on round 3, which is actually going to get to be one of the times you get to see me die right here shortly. You'll notice that I'm kind of being haphazard with my ultimate, holding on to it like I should, but I wasn't buffing or blocking or anything like that. So you'll want to go through and just be more careful about the damage you're taking there. So now that I've taken you back past that portion, a little bit of a fast forward after my death. Notice go and kill the clockwork sentry, and then this 3 spawn right here is how you know for sure that it is going to be right before the boss. You kill those 3, and then you've got the clockwork sentry, and you're on to your final boss. Now this boss has an important mechanic. There's a protection circle underneath the boss itself. You'll see the green AoE underneath him. You want to stand in that, otherwise he's going to be zapping you with either fire or lightning, whatever it is. and that's kind of a pain. So while he's on the move, you want to stand underneath him. You'll see that there was the spawn point, and there's a dwarven or the clockwork sentry that came off to the left. Made sure to kill him before finishing focusing on the boss some more, because you don't want him to get into his invincibility stage. So while he's standing still, you want to stand on the opposite side of him, and that way you're not getting hit by so many AoEs. You'll notice I finished off the Dwarven Sphere prior to standing back underneath him, and then it's just a quick easy burn to finish him off prior to starting the next round. Here is a good time to go ahead and talk to Tutor Reparius and repair your gear and also charge your weapons, which if I were smart I would have done here. We're approaching what is, in my mind, the most difficult stage for the entire arena. It's stage 5, which is the Rink of Frozen Blood. So you're going to have these trolls that pop up in the middle. What they're going to do is go off to one of the random ice packs and slam it and destroy it. The issue with that is if you run out of ice packs, you have nowhere to stand, and the water will kill you if you stand in it for too long. So the main goal of this arena is to kill the adds and stay out of the water. The adds that you want to focus, so you've got your archers and your trolls are the main ones, and then following that are the lemonades. So the lemonades are an issue because they'll freeze you for a moment, and it's just, they do normal lemonades things like in every other dungeon or content that they're in. The archers are a big deal because you'll get 4 or 5 of them at one time. They pop up based on the percentages, not based on a time, and so you get overrun with archers and you'll go from full health to dead because you get hit by 6 or 7 quick shots at once, and you can't prepare for that. So for here, the main thing that I'm doing is running around trying to get the ranged adds and the melee adds together, aside from when I'm fighting the bosses. So here you'll see I'm fighting the Ogre Elder. The biggest thing I wanted to do was take care of that troll first. Then since I'm melee, I needed to get closer to the Ogre Elder and got rid of him that way. You see those little icicle AoEs that he shot up from the ground? The big thing you have to remember is just don't stand in them, and that's pretty much the only mechanic for the Ogre Elder that you have to worry about. Now we're on to the Frost Atronach round, and it's the same thing. You just take everybody onto one, and you'll see there I got hit by the archers because I didn't kill enough of them, and I got grabbed by the quick shots. But now in speed back up, killing the lemonade, stacking everything together, and we'll begin getting to the rest of the arena. That standard that I dropped there was a waste of an ultimate because there wasn't really anything around for it to go on, and if you notice, there's nothing standing in it still, so that really was kind of a waste. And this is the last round where you can actually use the ultimate safely prior to the main boss. So for round 4, you want to save your ultimate. That way you have it for sure during this next one. You see those lines that come from his axe? You want to make sure to avoid those. You'll see here shortly I'll die from one of them, and they hurt pretty good. And I'll speed back up to catch us back up to where we were just at momentarily. So after you burn one of those bosses, you want to make sure you're not standing in the water because the other one does a crowd control. Doesn't like when you kill his friend. So you want to make sure that you're still on ice when you do burn one of those giants, because otherwise you'll get caught in the water and that is not fun. You see here we have the 2 lemonades. You want to go ahead and just heavy attack them for the most part to build up your resources. That way you don't have to be concerned about going through this too fast, especially when you're trying to get your first clear. On that note, you see the sigils around the outside, those little light ups. Feel free to use those. They have a ton of different buffs. You know, they increase your power, your speed, your healing. There's a ton of them that you can use. So make sure to use them, especially if you're trying to get your first clear. So here is the final boss. And the thing to remember is you want to go slow and steady with this boss. Kill all the ads as quickly as possible, and then nuke him on the third pad. So if you don't nuke him on the third pad, he'll break the third pad, and then you die anyways in the water. That's why you want that. He's going to go at 75 and between 45 and 50%. He's going to break the pad that you're standing on. So you want to pay attention to when he turns red, and then from there you want to run to the next pad. However, saying that, you don't want to memorize his percentages. You want to watch his mechanics and the way he acts. So there you saw me die to that nice little line that comes from when you have your dog wanting some attention. And so you'll see me speed up real quick here to get back to that point. And in the meantime, you'll watch me even die a couple more times due to not following the mechanics or getting too greedy, whatever it is. It's the main reason is ignoring the ads and not killing them quick enough. So there you'll see that I dropped my ultimate on the second instead of the third, which means I'm staying in there too long, and on the third one I'm getting killed by all the archers. Now for my second death, because I'm still speeding through, you'll see that I go get him down to the 75%. He breaks and we're on to the second, and you see all the ads around. I'm trying to focus them a little bit, but I'm not spending too much on them, especially when we come to right there and I get grabbed by his little thing from his axe. So that's where I was wanting to point out that you want to be really careful about the lines that come from his weapon. So here we are now. So kind of burnt him a little quick. If you saw, he put out this little red aura that shows that he's about to break the pad, and you see him over there. And so you want to jump over to where the troll is. Now I'm over here focusing on the ads. You'll notice that I'm leaving him alone pretty much 100%. His health is staying up for the most part, focusing on that lemonade, on the archers, the frost biters, and then I got lucky and another troll came over. So that's that red aura I was talking about. So now that we're on to the third one, you want to try to buff up as much as possible, heal yourself, and then start dropping all of your AoEs and get ready for him to come over. So one of the things I'll do over here is I'll just shield and heal over and over, and then while spamming my main damage skill. That way it's killing him and keeping me alive. And then that's the easiest way to get through that, is just drop your ultimates over there, let them all come in, and then you have your AoEs and your dots, and finish off the hardest round in the arena. So after a hard round, I personally like to go back to Tutor Reparius and repair my gear, just to make sure that it doesn't get broken in the next rounds. This generally will be the last time I repair, depending upon the situation. So now we are on to stage 6, which is the spiral shadows. The important thing to remember here is the webs that are on the gravestones around the arena that you can see. Pretty much what it is you'll have those horrors like the one I just killed, and you use those to cleanse the spider webs from the gravestone, whether using the synergy like how I just used, or later you'll see me just attack the horror next to the gravestone, like right here, I hope, and it'll die next to it, allowing it to cleanse the gravestone without having to use the synergy. So that's going to be important later, because you need to time when to cleanse all of them at the same time. As you see here, it says a swarm attacks, and then you want to seek some sort of protection. What that's looking for is standing over by the light on the gravestones. So what that does is it makes it to where the spiders that are swarming are not going to attack you. There you'll see that I died because I didn't really handle the Atronach the correct manner. So here I'm going to speed it back up, get back to where we were, just dealing with that one Atronach. So you'll see that I pay a special attention to where the Horvers are, and then now that I've got the Horvers around and cleansed the majority of the pads, it's just going to be paying attention to these little spiders that come up called web spinners, and making sure that they don't reapply the webs to the gravestones. So when the Horver is down around and you have your gravestones the way you want them, you don't actually have to kill the Horver. You can just let them be and they'll go away without attacking you. So now that we are at this point, you want to make sure that you're constantly panning your camera to look for those web spinners. Reason being is it's really difficult to go and try to get to them last moment. You'll see my camera constantly spinning in the 360-degree angle, like looking for that guy right there, just to make sure that when he does pop up, that I'm not caught off guard. It's one of those things where it's better to know what's happening as soon as it happens, rather than to find out last minute and then you have to rush over in order to get rid of them. So now we're just kind of going through, playing the mechanics, waiting for him to come up, and if possible, you still want to be dropping those damage over times and AoEs on the spawn points when the spawn points are coming up. Here you want to hard target the Atronach and block, because he's going to do his heavy attack, and you want to hard target him so you don't get those little spiders in the middle. Yes, it is possible to kill the spiders, but it's very unlikely that you're going to do it, and then they just come back to life the next round that they come through. So it's really pointless to actually try to do it. So for those portions where you're sitting inside and you've got the Atronach or the Lurchers that are coming up later, just make sure you're blocking their heavy attack, and that'll get you through the round. If you need to dodge roll, but it starts to become very taxing on your stamina when you try to dodge roll everything. So it's the same here for this round. You're just rinse and repeat of spinning your camera, looking for the web spinners, and trying to avoid those spiders. Here you see that I didn't pay attention to where the golden gravestones were, and by the time I made it to that one, it kind of disappeared and I had to go to the next one. And then step out of the AoE. You don't want to get too far away from your golden gravestones in those situations, because those spiders will get you, but as you can see, you can kind of outrun them. Those web spinners do not have a whole lot of health. You can get through it by just heavy attacking it a few times if you don't have a whole lot of resources. There you can see that I didn't actually kill the web spinner in time, and so he got that gravestone covered back in webs. And now I'm trying to roll away from the spiderlings because I don't have enough stamina, and I wasn't paying attention to my resources there. So here we've got those void lurchers. This is the one I was talking about. You do not want to stand in front of him, and you want to block those heavy attacks. So especially when it comes to when the swarm is resonating, you want to make sure that you're blocking. Otherwise, those hurt really bad. That heavy attack on top of the mini attacks that come from the spiderlings is very painful. So here we're going to go through and pull the melee on top of the range like we do all the other times, and just try to get everything down, nice even burn across the board. The swarm's attacking, and you'll see that I don't get the chance to hard target that lurcher, but I still have to step out. Hard targeting allows you to focus on that one instead of possibly hitting both. When you get one of them down quicker, it's a lot easier to get the other one down, because then you're not having to deal with spread loading your damage. So there is the two lurchers. It's the one right before the final boss. So here we have the final boss. I like to go and stand near that last gravestone that's webbed, and then I should have already dropped my ultimate. I was a little late on preloading it. You want to preload all of your damage and everything prior to the Horver getting over and dying on the stone,
That way you're not spending so long with him, and you should be able to kill him while he's stunned down. Him being pinned down is what happens when you have all of the gravestones. I believe there's 6 of them that have been cleared from the webs, and then that's the way of beating it. One thing to remember with that boss is if you don't burn him quick enough, he's going to come back up, and there will be this interruptible mechanic where he shoots out, there's an AoE around him, and then it spawns into lightning. You do not want to be in that lightning when it goes off. This is stage 7, which is the Vault of Umbrage. So if you don't think the Rink of Frozen Blood is the most difficult, chances are that this is going to be the one that you despise the most out of this entire arena. Reason being is there's these little flowers, as you see, littered across the ground, and those flowers are spawning poison blooms. If you stand in that poison bloom, you have to cleanse yourself like I did at the very beginning of the poison, otherwise you die, which you will see it will happen to me multiple times in this run, generally because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. There I got grabbed by the venom collar, or venom shot, excuse me, that's my mistake. It's all a matter of just keeping an eye out on your camera as to where you're going. There's multiple strategies. Generally, I kind of like to run over and bring the melee onto the venom shots. However, you don't want to put yourself in a spot where you can't avoid the poison blooms that are spawning around. So in the back corner behind the troll where I'm going right now is what's called a venom collar. They're the ones that are spawning up the flowers and making them go immediately. Other than that, the only time those poison blooms will go off is if you're standing inside of their radius, essentially. So if you avoid them, you won't have to deal with them. But if you're leaving those venom collars up, then you're gonna have to deal with them. So again, it's really, this round is made a lot more difficult than it truly is, and even I made it a lot more difficult than I needed to for this run, because you're focusing on those venom collars. It's gonna be your determination as to whether or not you want to make the venom collar prime target over the boss. But generally, I try to make it to where I don't have any more than 1 to 2 venom shots before I go and focus down the venom collars. And then beating the trolls is as simple as just burning them down. They do have a nice little rock throw that hurts a little bit, but it is not too big of a deal. As long as you're blocking, you can also step out of it. I think for all the times I've ran this, I've only died to the trolls a couple times. So for this one, you also want to make sure not to leave the ads inside of the cleansing pools. You'll notice I do that here in a little bit. It's actually something new I learned on this run, is that when you leave them in the cleansing pool, you can't damage them. So that was a fun little addition to this run that I learned. So it's the same thing, just burning the venom shots, and you'll notice that I immediately switch over and start burning that Wamasu. The Wamasu is one of the more dangerous targets, as mentioned before. They have that big heavy attack, and I kind of died trying to show the heavy attack. There's that one, and then the other one that I really wanted to show you was this right here. That AoE is an insta-death pretty much, and you do not want to be standing in it, and so leaving, I get caught with that, and there I die to a volatile poison because I did not pay attention to where those blooms were spawning. So now that we've got that out of the way, I go through and I take a look at where the map is. I've already died. It's not like I'm wasting any time spinning my camera around. I can actually see what's around. I decide to hurry up a little bit here because, you know, it's the same thing of just pulling on the melee to the ads. There you can see that you have to take them out of the pool in order to damage them. and you're just going through and burning the venom collars, venom shots, and then getting to the boss. And there I died to a poison bloom, which is, one of the reasons why people hate this dungeon so much, or this round. Poison bloom again. That's 2 for the poison blooms in this one specific round. So here, I'm going all the way in on that venom shot because I don't want to be out near all the other poison blooms, which there I got caught. I didn't notice that there was actually a poison bloom right behind the venom shot, which was my mistake. Probably should have been holding everything closer to the middle or ran to the other side where this venom shot has spawned. Here shortly we'll be getting to more venom shots. It's a 3. So what you want to do is you want to go and burn one as quick as possible while also paying attention to that mechanic right there. When they raise the bow in the air, they're getting ready to one-shot you. So you either need to interrupt them or kill them prior to them firing that shot. It's a single shot. It's the same throughout the entire arena. We'll see the same thing on the final stage where the single shot will kill you. From there you just go through and you've got 2 trolls. You want to focus on one and just burn him down. While he's growing you can't damage him, so you can work on damaging the other one, but overall it's just burn them. Don't stand inside of the rock throw, that one right there, and you're good. So now we're coming up on the final boss while dealing with the venom collar. I'm just going to heavy attack him to get my resources back, and then I'm going to start dropping all my dots and AoEs. You can see here that I'm all the way in the corner, which is a bad idea because I don't have anywhere to go if those blooms do pop up. It also hurts me because these Argonian minders, so I kill this one and then I'm immediately needing to go to the other one for the shield. So I don't even make it because I'm so far away. If I were more centralized, I would have been able to kill that first one and then make it to the second one before I died. So the reason you go in the Argonian Minder's little shield is because the Argonian behemoth, he starts to scream or whatever the showing is, shields its local area. You want to go over and hide so that you're not getting hit by the behemoth scream. It's important not to interrupt the behemoth because if you do, it's one of those things where it enrages him and you end up dying to some stupid thing that you didn't actually think was going to kill you. That being said, if you are on one of those people who are getting ready to push, you can burn him from there. You just want to make sure that you don't kill your minder while he's in that stage, because if you kill your Argonian minder while he's screaming, then you're not going to be able to protect yourself and you'll end up dying. You'll have a few ticks of damage before you do die, but it generally does result in death. So here again, I am repairing my gear just because I did die those few times right before we get to the next round. Once you've passed stage 7, you're coming up on the back half, and everything else is pretty much pretty simple. We're on to stage 8, which is the Igneous Cistern. So the main thing here, just like we've talked about before, is paying attention to your resources, because there are some times where your resources start to hurt pretty good. Dropping your damage over times on the add spawn points, and then making sure that you're stacking the melee on top of the range. Here you could see that I've got the two-hander. I should have been taking him over to that healer that was off on the side. So the premise behind this boss is that you go and kill these warding stones before you can attack the boss. So the Infernal Destroyer is your main boss. You saw a moment ago he sent 3 little lava pools at you. Those are really hard to avoid. You can stay back and
that's the most effective way I've found for avoiding those lava pools. So essentially these first 3 rounds are the exact same things. You're gonna have just a couple more added ads that you have to deal with. You see this Dromora Kindgold, those are really important to focus on because of that little thing where they stick their staff over their head and shoot fire at you. Those will kill you if you let them go long enough. In fact, I'd say that that's been my most common reason of dying in this entire dungeon, or the round. Here you can see, this is going to affect me next round, that warding stone is not lit up, but it has been destroyed. It is important to notice that the mechanics and the animations of the arena, because things like that do happen where you go over and you kill something but it doesn't follow through and destroy itself. Here I'm taking these two-handers and stacking them on top of the range, and then this is where not noticing that it's not lit up gets me. So off to the left hand side you can see that that one is lit up but this one is not. And so if I tried to dodge roll and it took me a moment too late to get over there, and then it destroys, showing me that that was the one I should have actually been at. So we'll go through and speed it up to get back to that point, just like I've done previously inside this entire video. Again, if you've made it this far, I mean, thank you for joining. I hope I'm helping. Please like and subscribe. It'll help me out. I'm trying to get this whole YouTube thing started just for fun and to help others. So here I go over and destroy the ward stone. It's a good idea to try to get as much of your damage over times down on the stone prior to attacking the boss. That way everything hits at once. You don't have to reapply everything, and everything's ready when that comes around. So here I'm speeding it up because it's the exact same thing. You don't get any new ads here. You just have to focus on those kind golds and then burn everything down. So we come over, start burning more. So this is the boss that's a little bit of a pain. You saw her chain me in. You can actually block that chain. If I were paying more attention, it would have happened. However, you know, sometimes you don't pay attention, and then I also let my resources kind of go there. So we're gonna go through, get everything going. So go over, interrupt the kind golds because they hurt really bad. Stand on them, let anything that is melee come over to you, and then you're just burning. I should have blocked that two-hander, so he does an uppercut, and those do hurt. It's probably, if aside from the kind golds, that's what's going to get you is that uppercut. That chain mechanic right there is the one that you can block, and it prevents her from being able to pull you in. She's essentially like a Dragonite, and it prevents her from doing her damage. So just back away from her a little bit, do your damage, and then you see her blow fire at you. It's not a big deal. Just avoid taking the heavy shots, and then you kill her, and then you're on to the final round. The final round, what you want to do is go and lay your dots as soon as everything pops up. So you see there, I start laying it, and then I run to the next one. I lay everything I can right there, and then I make sure that it's going down. So here in a moment, I'll turn my camera. I see that the warding stone's down. Now I've got the boss right on top of the camera. I'm building up my resources, and I drop everything at once so that I can burn right here and only have to go through the process once. After a few seconds, she'll pop back up, and then you have to go through and kill the warding stones again, and then you'll get some ads. So it's really helpful if you can kill the boss on the first go. And now you're on to the final round. So now we are on to the final round, which is Stage 9, Theater of Despair. So there are 3 key things to remember on this one. The first one, pay attention to the archers. The second, focus the crematorial guard, also known as the Daedrith, and then time your spectral explosions.
So the first one, paying attention to the archers, is this little guy right here. I try to take an extra second. He sticks his bow up in the air, so what'll happen is he will one-shot you. Um, we'll see it a little bit later too. I'll glow gold, and I'll need to take care of it. So those archers are extremely important. The second thing, you see these golden spirits that are flying around, those are the good ones. You avoid the dark ones and pick up the gold ones. So once you pick up 3 of the golden ones, you'll have what's called a spectral explosion. It's a synergy which you use to essentially stop everything in the map, just like the 6th one. And then focusing the crematorial guard, that's that Daedrith that I just killed right there. You want to burn those down really quick. They hit like a tank, and they do a lot of damage. It's just they are the most difficult ad to deal with in this entire round. They start off really easy, and then they get more and more difficult. So when I'm talking about timing your spectral explosion, I'm holding on to it here, you'll see. And there's a little blue buff on my bar showing a guy with some arms. That's how long you have to use it. You'll see there I picked up another golden ghost and it reset the timer so that I can use it right here. You want to try to use it to focus on those crematorial guards. That way they don't have the opportunity to hit you. It's the way of making sure that you get your damage done without having to worry about taking damage yourself. Now these little ogrems, they're more of a nuisance than anything else. You don't have to worry too much about them, but when they are up, you do want to focus them after the archers. Reason being is they just go and they enrage and get big and they throw stuff at you. There's no reason to hang out with them. So here I'm focusing on that crematorial guard, burning him down as quickly as possible. You'll notice he didn't get his fire breath off. That is a very important thing. When he does start getting his fire breath off, you want to make sure that your shield is up and that you're not taking damage. So here you see that that archer is getting me, and I actually had to go and bash him because I wasn't going to be able to kill him prior to him shooting me with the one shot. So now we're going through and we've got our first little mini boss. It's, you know, the Zivali Ravager, however you pronounce it. Doesn't really do much damage. You can block that right there, but you just want to kill him pretty quick. And then we're over here, and I think I'm using a spectral explosion here, getting ready for that next crematorial guard right after this. So kill him, and then the crematorial guard pops in a down state, which allows me to go and attack him real quick before, and he isn't able to get off his fire breath. That hurts really bad. You'll see it a little bit later in this video. So now we're in between rounds, going ahead and buffing up, dropping all my AoEs and dots as much as possible on the spawn points. And at this point we look over at this Dromora Narkinaz. If and when they make it to the center, they start to spawn a giant colossus. You just want to kill them before they finish that ritual. So I'm going to ignore the healer right here, and I'm going to run over to him and go kill him. So get rid of him, and then that way that colossus isn't going. You see that blue beam? That's what's saying that he's going to be summoning the colossus. This is the fire breath that I was speaking about. You want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Feel like it goes a little bit longer the further into this you go. So you want to try to burn that crematorial guard quick so you don't have to stand in it very long. And here I've gone through, I've completed my weekly endeavor apparently. Woohoo. So now we're going to go through, kill him, and we should be coming up on the Ogrim. Yep. So you pop the spectral explosion, get rid of your Ogrim real quick, and then that gives you time to run across and kill the other guys. That's helpful because it takes some time to get across, and they're coming from all over the map, so you don't want to have to sprint everywhere and try to catch them all. So you'll focus the Ogrim and then move to the middle and kill everything there. Here I thought I was pushing a different round, and so I was getting all my damage ready in the middle. However, you see that the Dromora's on the outside, or Daedrith, and you go and kill him. And now you've got the Ash Titan. So one thing to note is that he's got a few different mechanics. He's going to whack me here in a moment, or I'm going to dodge roll it, I can't recall. And then he's got a Fire Breath, and he also does that Ash Titan thing where he sends out a bunch of flames. I make sure it happens here. You'll notice off to the left that there's an archer who's queued up on me. I actually dodge rolled to avoid that hit. So I actually got kind of lucky there. Here we are. Go ahead and kill the Ash Titan. Now you can focus the archer, and you see that the archer turned white. That's because the golden ghost got to him, and that makes them, it gives them a little bit more resistances, and I believe it also increases their damage. So don't want to let it happen again, so go interrupt him and then start to burn him. And that is pretty much this round. It's pretty simple. Drop that Spectral Explosion, kill the Ogrim, and then we're going to have one more boss if I remember correctly. Nope, I do not remember correctly. So now we are on to the final round. So what's really important here is dropping your ultimate and burning him down to 75 as quickly as possible. So you want to try to get his percentage down to 75. He goes and loads up almost like he's Goku doing a Super Saiyan blast. Before he throws something at you, you can block that to avoid dying. The reason you want to kill him as quickly as possible is you don't want that Daedrith, the crematorial guard, coming after you. If you can destroy that beforehand, you can get up without dealing with him. So you then take care of the portal. You could take the portal by killing the Clanfear on the pad that's lit up. And then once you come up here, you stand up and destroy the crystals. You'll see I'm keeping my camera pointed towards the middle because when he throws the skull at me, I need to block. So you see me blocking, and then you just lay your dots down on the crystal, and then you move to the next one. So here I'm going to run right past it, and then you got to hide behind this crystal wall, because when he drops, if you're not hiding behind it, you'll get pushed over the edge, and then you have to go kill the crematorial guard, and then you have to kill the Daedrith or the Clanfear and get back up. So again, block. Here I'm just trying to save my resources, do some heavy attacks while also killing that. So as soon as that dies, it's going to knock you down, and then you're essentially just looking at try not to get execute happy, but you're kind of getting execute happy at this point, because all you have to do is finish burning him before he goes back up. So what you're going to do is you're going to pay attention to these guys that summon in the middle, and then you're going to pay attention to when he moves, because there's times when he moves, he'll go ahead and he'll need to be interrupted, or you'll need to block when he throws the skull at you. So there is an interrupt, and then he moves across the way, and then you just keep burning him. That's the times when you block. So these are the crematorial guards that you need to deal with. Again, I made sure to try to burn him a little bit to show that it is doable, and then you come over and kill him real quick. Generally, if you do it right, you can get the Spectral Explosion in this, and then you don't have to deal with the crematorial guard. Let me be the first to congratulate you on your vMA clear. If you got this far, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'll help me out. And good luck. I'll see you next time.